Story 1 Original post. Am I the a-hole here for being disgusted and just saying okay when my fiance broke up with me? So, I don't know man. I, 28, had been with my fiance, Alex 34, since 2020. We met at a friend's party, hit it off, and have been together ever since. He finished his doctorate in economics just last year. Since then he has been working at the uni. I have my master's in media sciences and decided to start working instead of going for a PhD. Okay, so the problem is that Alex broke up with me last Monday. It was literally so surreal and honestly, just weird. For the past few months, he'd been acting strange. He was making demands and then dropping them immediately. A few examples, he told me we were going to paint our walls back from dark green to white. When I asked why, he just said, for F's sake, forget it, and never brought it up again, even when I asked. Another time, he came home and got mad because I was sitting on the couch with my head covered in a blanket. I had cramps. He was upset because I was just sitting there watching Netflix. Mind you, the house was spotless. When I tried to talk about it, he said, forget it, it's not a big deal. This kind of thing became common. Every time I tried to communicate, tried to figure out what was going on, whether it was something I did or maybe he was just stressed at work, he would just say everything was fine, but he was clearly seething with rage. I didn't even have to do anything. He would find something to complain about, the apartment, clothes, me, work, etc. So, I gave him space, which apparently was also wrong. I told him I was going to help my parents with repairs for a few days, and somehow that was also wrong because he wanted to renovate the apartment too. Then, on Monday, I got a text saying we needed to talk. I knew what was coming, and after the last few months, I had made peace with it. When I came home, he was sitting on the couch. He didn't even wait for me to take off my jacket before saying, I want to break up. Then the verbal diarrhea started. He told me he resented me. First, because I didn't pursue my academic career further, even though I was capable, and he didn't want to upset me at the time. Then, when I started making more money, since he didn't make much as a PhD student, he felt like I should have the last word financially, and he hated it. Mind you, I never said anything like it's my money, so I have the final say. That's a rule he imposed on himself, and he hated it. He said he hated our paint scheme, the couch, and even our effing crockpot. Then, he told me he had rejected a better PhD program to stay here because I had already started my job by the time he got the acceptance letters. Only, he never told me he had even applied overseas. He said a few months ago he checked in with a friend who's in that program, saw how they were thriving, and decided I ruined his life. He said I had too much control over his life and that he hated the idea that I could just decide not to pay for things and F him over. I honestly don't even know what that means. He also said he hated that all his friends loved me and didn't let him vent about me. Then he said again, I'm done. I was floored. I had already made peace with the idea that we were ending, and it hurt, but after that rant, I was just disgusted. I looked at him, probably with a disgusted expression, and said, okay. He lost it. He said this is exactly what he meant, that it was horrible. We had been together for 4 years, and all I had to say was okay to our breakup. I just asked if he wanted to stay here while he figured out where to go. He's Luna, but I have been thinking about changing it since my family already has 2 pets named Luna, a Moon, and Kamar. She is still at her foster home for now, but I have visited her a few times, and I already adore her. She is a scrappy little tabby who follows her foster mom around like a shadow, and I can't wait for her to move in during the first week of December. I've already gotten her bowls, toys, and a bed by the window ready. Now on to what happened. Last week, I was out showing someone around the city. He is the son of my parents' friends who recently moved here for work. My parents asked me to help him get familiar with the area, so I agreed. It was nothing special, just walking around, grabbing coffee, and pointing out useful spots in the city. Apparently, Alex saw us. I didn't even realize he was there, but later that night, I started getting texts from an unknown number. I guess he got a new number since I blocked his old one. The texts were just weird. He accused me of flaunting my new relationship in public, said I must have been seeing this guy before we broke up, and told me that everything he suspected about me was true. I didn't respond. I wasn't going to entertain his paranoia. The messages kept coming though. They went from angry to desperate, with him saying things like, at least admit you were lying to me, and, was anything about us even real? It was exhausting and honestly a little scary to see how quickly he spiraled. For the record, this guy isn't my boyfriend. He's not even someone I'm interested in. He's just the son of family friends who needed help settling into the city. The whole thing was completely innocent. but Alex has twisted it into some kind of betrayal in his head. What gets me is how little Alex seems to know me. I'm not the type of person to jump into a relationship so soon after everything that happened. Even if I were, it wouldn't be any of his business. We are done. I've made that clear. After I didn't respond to his texts, Alex started calling. I didn't pick up, but the voicemails were a mix of angry rants and desperate pleas. I ended up blocking his new number too. It feels ridiculous that I have to keep doing this, but I guess this is where we are now. Then this weekend, I went out to a bar with my friends. A few hours in, guess who walked in? Alex. I don't know if it was a coincidence or if he followed me there, but as soon as he spotted me, he came straight over. He was clearly upset, asking to talk, and I told him no. My friend stepped in, and thankfully, he left without causing a scene, but it ruined my night. It felt like I couldn't escape him, no matter where I went or what I did. When I got home later that night, I was completely drained. I had just started to relax when I heard a knock on my door. It was Alex, standing there in tears. He started crying, saying he missed me, that he didn't understand why I was doing this to him, and that he didn't know how to move on. It was like all the anger from earlier had been replaced with this desperate sadness. I didn't let him in. I told him he needed to leave, and if he didn't, I would call someone to make him leave. He begged me to listen, but I just closed the door. I spent the rest of the night feeling shaken and honestly a little scared. I don't know what he's going through. I wrote his best friend about the situation, but the plea of talking to him. He said he would. I'm seriously considering getting a new phone number and possibly even talking to someone about how to handle this legally if it keeps happening. It feels unfair that I have to go to these lengths just to have some peace, but I don't see another option. Now for the comments. I think keep track of every call, text, and voice messages. Collect a paper trail in case you need to go the legal route. Maybe get an additional lock on your door just in case. He's obviously unstable and has been for a while. Just focus on yourself and your new chapter in life. Don't feed into his crap. He broke up with you? Like, sir, chill. This. He broke up with you, right? Then after that he coincidentally twice sees you out and about and complain at you. Tell him to kick rocks. He dumped you. Now he needs to own it and go away. Not the a-hole. No way, no how. Once is a coincidence, twice is a pattern. I can't imagine that he just happened to see you when you were out in the city twice. Definitely get prepared in case you need to file a restraining order and take legal action. Be sure to practice good safety like locking doors and windows. Maybe even preemptively tell whoever works the front desk or whatever at work to not let him in if he comes to your workplace. Hopefully over time he will come to see that this relationship is completely over, and he will stop bothering you. He may have put a tracking device on your car or inside the lining of your purse. Have a mechanic check your car. OP, you failed his test. However, he is desperate to give you a makeup test and can't understand why. Instead of taking this amazing opportunity, you're accepting the failing grade of remaining his ex. In other words, you broke his brain, and he's desperate for the dopamine that is power and control over you. Stay strong, but think about moving and be more security conscious. Maybe even a cease and desist letter. I would tell him that if he keeps coming over like that, you won't let him in and you will call the cops. Also, hopefully he will lose interest and stop getting new numbers to harass you pretty soon. And most importantly, congrats on the cat. That is a great place to invest your energy and help get this creep out of your mental space. Girl, definitely not the a-hole. You are doing what you can to protect your peace and you have to put yourself first, especially your safety. I would continue to keep distance, but depending on how serious you two got and how close you know his inner circle, and if you feel secure and safe enough to do so, maybe consider reaching out to a friend or family member to make sure he's got someone to support him. He seems to be going through a mental health crisis, and while it is by no means your problem to solve, if you wish the best for him, maybe push him getting some therapy since this is probably an issue that stems further than you two breaking up. All in all, you did everything right as long as you are protecting your peace and putting your mental and physical health first. Sorry you dated this guy, seems like a lot. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for being such a B-word to my dad's wife after my mom died? My, 17 female, parents got divorced 6 years ago because my dad was cheating. His wife Hazel worked with my mom and knew us, so the breakup was bad, and my brother, 19 male, and I didn't think dad was such a good guy after we found out what he did, and our relationship with him was never the same. We never liked his wife, and over time I grew to hate her. She expected things to be okay, and of course they effing weren't. I don't know why she was deluded enough to think me and my brother would like her or that mom would care about what happens to her. Things got way nastier at the same time the divorce was finalized and Dad married Hazel. She was pregnant and had a miscarriage a few days before the wedding. She called Mom to ask her to take us to the hospital to see her and Mom said no. Hazel cried down the phone to Mom about the miscarriage and how she needed her family around her and to show compassion. My mom told her she had no compassion for the woman who broke up her marriage. Hazel called my mom while I was at her and my dad's house. My brother was old enough to stop going by this point, and she told Mom she set a bad example and to think about the sibling me and my brother lost. Mom said she was glad it happened to Hazel and Dad and that we wouldn't have to deal with a half-sibling from them since they were cheating sluts. I think she said sluts. I couldn't hear everything. Hazel went nuts and never forgot what Mom said. Once I was old enough I stopped going to Dad's house too and I ignored any contact from Hazel and did everything to shut her out. I still had to speak to Dad sometimes so Mom wouldn't get in trouble for not encouraging some contact. But Hazel wasn't a part of that. Sometimes she did show up when Dad did and she'd be very hostile to Mom back and expected us to side with her. My mom was diagnosed with cancer in January and she died 3 weeks ago. My brother and I were with her and Dad came when he heard Mom was gone and took us to his house. We didn't want to go but he insisted he needed to be there for us. Hazel was there waiting and tried to hug us and stuff but we shut her down. My brother and I were both crying and I was asking him how we were meant to do all this. Dad said he was there for that and we needed to lean on him. Then Hazel said the bad influence was finally out of our lives and we could work on our relationships with each other. My brother cursed at her and told her to shut up. Hazel said stuff like that was Mom's fault and it was sad how we didn't see Mom as the disgusting piece of crap she was. She said I heard what Mom told her on the phone that day and still chose Mom. I told her she was twisted if she thought I'd pick my dad's mistress over my own mom and I told her I would never have a relationship with her and she's a disgusting, nasty person and I didn't give a crap what Mom said to her because she deserved it all and more. Hazel lost it and my brother took me to our grandparents. Dad tried to stop us from leaving and tried to make me come back but I said no. I've stayed with my grandparents since and my brother's still here. My brother and I shut Dad out and we didn't tell him anything about the funeral even though he asked. Hazel tried to reach out to me and I ignored her. Then Dad and Hazel started texting me to say I need to apologize for being so awful to her and it wasn't her fault Mom died. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. I told her she was twisted if she thought I'd pick my dad's mistress over my own mom. And she's a disgusting, nasty person. Fact. It's incredibly rude and disrespectful for Hazel to say that your mom was a disgusting piece of crap when she was the one who helped tear your family apart. The fact that she thinks you're just going to forgive her and embrace her after everything shows how entitled and out of touch she is. Stay strong. You don't owe her anything. She's the piece of crap and a-hole, not you. Block Hazel and your father and stop picking up their calls. You are not an a-hole. You are all your brother has right now with your grandparents. You need to mourn your loss. Losing your mother is a debilitating and tragic loss that you are going to carry for the rest of your lives. You are an adult now, almost 18. Tell Hazel that you are going to get a protection order and charge her with harassment if she keeps up with her bullcrap. Condolences to you and your brother for your loss. Hazel is nobody to you or your brother or your family. You need to find a way to mourn your mother and get her Social Security survivor benefits for yourself and your brother and get all her life insurance benefits. You are both almost adult beneficiary. If your mother had a will before her passing, get that will and have it executed. Get professional help and a lawyer who can help you and your brother to get what was your mother's assets in that marriage. Again, not the a-hole here, and condolences to you and your brother for your loss. Not the a-hole. Hazel really said I broke up your family, disrespected your mom, and now I'm the victim? Girl, what? The audacity is on sale, and she bought the whole shelf. You don't owe her a single apology, she's been messy since day one. Keep chilling with your grandparents and brother, that's the real support squad. Thank you for listening. If you like the video, consider like and subscribe. If you want more stories like these, turn on your notification to receive the latest stories.